Whether you know it or not, your competitors have given you a huge advantage in terms of creating your marketing and creating marketing that actually converts. Today, I'm going to walk you through how to actually collect the insights and the best ideas that your competitors are using, and how to start to utilize that for your own marketing. So you're not starting from scratch, really utilizing those best ideas that they are using a variation on, and how do you kind of use what you're seeing from competitors to start seeing results faster, not only for your own marketing, but also to avoid that situation where you put your marketing out there and it just doesn't convert. So I'm Brian Czekanski. If this is one of the first time joining one of my lives, I'm a direct response copywriter, really focused on email, particularly in the health industry, but also covering various other industries. Today, we're going to focus on personal development, and I'm going to show you an example that I put together for a past client that really brings together a lot of the process that I talked about earlier in the week. If you didn't check out that live video from Monday, be sure to, I'll link it up top. But it really just gave you a process in terms of like when you're taking a look at your industry, how do you start to get the ads and the marketing, inside your social media feeds, so you can get a sense of like, okay, like based on where your audience is and who they are, what ideas are they hearing, what messages are they getting, and particularly from a big idea perspective, what are those things that are working, what isn't working, so you get a sense of that, especially as you sit down and write your emails, write your ads, write your sales page. You want to make sure that you're not just echoing what all your competitors are saying, because if you do that, it's just going to feel like a broken record for your audience. And if anything, they're just going to unconsciously or consciously avoid your stuff altogether. They're going to keep on scrolling. They're going to avoid your email because, again, you're just saying the same old thing that they're hearing from other people. So you're not offering any new ideas. You're not offering innovation for their, main problem that you solve for them. So I'm going to show you today, again, once you follow that process, once you set it up, again, it takes a couple days for the algorithms on Google and Facebook and other places to do some of that research and for them to start delivering that in your news feed. But as you do that, it's always great to see like, okay, like once we've kind of developed that list of like who are your top 5 or 6 competitors, it might be bigger than that, might be smaller than that, depending on your industry. But today I'm going to show you just how to start compiling that, how to start to notice certain patterns. What are those certain themes that you should take advantage of? And how can you use that information to, again, create distinctive big ideas to make sure that you are not only getting your audience's attention, but you're creating marketing that converts, from the very beginning. So what I'll do is kind of just share, just a very simple spreadsheet. And that's going to be the bulk of what I'm going to talk through today. Here. Okay, so just a simple Google spreadsheet in terms of like right here. So again, this is kind of personal development. This is what I did and compiled for actually a bunch of different past clients that I had within the personal development space a couple months ago. And really the objective here is again, for those top competitors, for those industry leading gurus within the space. All I wanted to do is really get a sense of like, okay, what big ideas are they putting out there? What messages are working? Because I know on all these, various different gurus that are here, they've been scaling their Facebook ads, they've been scaling their advertising for a long period of time. They've gone through that testing phase, and in some instance or not, they have kind of come up with this final, they've come up with this offer, which I'm sure they're continuing to test on and create different variations on. But right now, as we look at the entire spreadsheet and as we look through it, I'll talk through some of the ideas. You'll see the commonalities that are really coming through. And as you see these commonalities among the various different gurus, you're going to get a sense of like, okay, like here's a variation of the big idea. And I can use part of this to create my own big idea. Again, we don't want to start from scratch. We want to take the ideas that we know are working, especially within our industry, and create variations, maybe amplify that, maybe take it a step further, especially with that unique mechanism, thinking about what differentiates you versus all the other people out there. How can we take some of the core ideas that are working for everybody else and use that as the foundation to create even better marketing that will perform even better than their offers along the way? So again, as you go through the list here, it's a couple different things that are going on in terms of the gurus: David Bayer, Brendan Bruchard, Tony Robbins, Mel Robbins, Mike Gillette, John Azaroff, Ramit Sethi, and Gabby Bernstein. Again, there's more in the personal development space that are out there, but these were just the ones as I went through. And I know just based on working in the industry that they have high performing offers. They're running, they're running these offers on Facebook and other social media sites, and they're doing it at scale. So what I did in terms of the spreadsheet, and this is something that I learned from one of my mentors, Justin Goff, really just kind of organizing the spreadsheet in terms of like what is most helpful for you to get that end outcome, with the end outcome in mind. So again, like I just have the listing of like who the guru is. I have their specific offer that I looked at. Again, for a lot of these, this is kind of just their front end offer that they're trying to get people in the door for. And then based on their email list, and as you go through the program, they've got a long list of back end programs that they're selling to you. But this is kind of that first offer that they have out there. I've got the big idea. So like as I went through their sales page, like what is that, that thing that really stuck out? What's that connecting thread that kind of comes through without? And then I went a little bit step further. So again, as I went through the pages, like what is the unique problem that they talk about, from a mindset perspective, and kind of lay that out for their audience. On the other side, what's the unique mechanism to the benefit that we're looking for, and how they get to that kind of dream scenario for their audience. And then I looked at other things, like even digging a little bit deeper. Like what's the angle that they used in their lead? So like, did they use a personal story? Did they do it more problem solution? There's so many different ways that you can do it. And I've talked about this in previous videos as well. Like in terms of that lead for that sales page, there's a couple different approaches, but I want to write these down to see, again, as I go through these gurus. And what I did find is, again, there's commonalities there. So like, if everybody else is writing a personal story on their sales page and that's working well, obviously you want to follow that same structure. Obviously you're not going to use that same story, or you're going to use a testimonial. You're going to use your own personal story for that. If everybody else is using a problem solution and it seems to be working well and they're scaling that, use that lead type as well. Again, the headline and the lead are going to be the key things that really drive your sales page and your marketing in general. And then, kind of looking at things like the appeal use. So this is going a little bit more detail, like kind of as an extension of that big idea. What are those additional benefits that they talked about? What are the other things that came out? And again, I'm just really looking for commonalities along the way. And then, again, some of them had Facebook ads, some of them did not. So I just linked to those ads just so I can take a look at them at a future date. And then just taking a look at their offer approach, like how do they get people in the door? So like, again, this is really helpful to go through. Like, again, what do we see here? Like a lot of people are using master classes. They're using a mini course. They're putting out there, something for free in terms of that. Again, John Azaroff is using a kind of a variation on that, what he calls a brainathon. Other people are using challenges. So let's just give you a sense of like, how do you, if you're going out there and you've got a brand new offer within personal development that has the same audience as these guys, like you're probably going to want to do a masterclass. You're probably going to want to do a webinar. You're probably going to consider doing a challenge, just because based on what we're seeing come from competitors, like that's what they've narrowed it down to. And just using that as a guide. So again, like you might have your own different approach, but like, okay, like how do we ensure that we get the best results from the very beginning? We take some of the signals that we're seeing in the broader industry and doing it that way. And then just kind of like, just for my own organization purposes, kind of looking at the sales page links. So again, as we go back here and just kind of like take a look at the big idea. So I'll just go through maybe column by column, not to go through it in tons of detail, but that's the idea, is like once you've kind of started to collect this, and for this spreadsheet, I had more people on the spreadsheet and I kind of narrowed it down over time. And this is what you can do for your industry as well. Just kind of start creating these columns, start creating these rows, and you can obviously narrow it down over time. You can really like, okay, like this is what Facebook is sending me in terms of Facebook ads. And just as you go through your news feed on a day-to-day basis, start filling these things in and just be like, sit in your audience's shoes and just, again, go through the columns and see like, okay, what was the big idea that is out there? And as you start to build out this list, you probably want 4 or 5 competitors at least, but that'll help you kind of see like, what's the common thread that really comes through. So as we go through the big ideas right now, like one of the things that you'll always see is, and this kind of comes from David Bayer, but for a lot of them as well, it's like kind of this big idea of like, you have the ability to kind of rewire your brain. You have like this ability. It's not something like you have your set brain, but you have like the ability through these techniques and the formula that they sell to kind of reorganize and to, reduce some of that anxiety and to use your brain as kind of like this, strength for you. But you have to, think about the neuro plasticity of it. You have to rewire it in some way. So if we go down a little bit more, another one would be just like Brendan Bruchard, kind of thinking about like the habits of life. So like you want to have like mindset is something that you should be feeding on a day-to-day basis. And again, in other competitors, that might not be their big idea, but they're definitely talking about it in other ways a little bit. So as you'll see in certain competitors, like certain people will highlight things in their big idea. Other people will have that similar idea, but they might put it a little bit further down in the page. And that's just something to be aware of. Like if everybody's bearing an idea that you really like at the bottom of their sales page, maybe that's a great big idea for you to bring and spotlight for your audience, because again, it's something that your audience is talking about. So it has some validity there. But they're not really highlighting it in terms of that big idea. So there might be something buried on your competitors' sales pages, and just based on it being there and that everybody else is talking about it, that it has, it has some legs to it. Consider bringing some of that stuff up and using that in your big idea, using that in your lead, and that's a great way to, again, use some of the research that you're doing right now and not have to start from scratch. Like, again, if you can kind of build on that idea, make it a little bit more personalized for you, and weave in your unique mechanism around the problem and the solution, that all works well as well. And then again, like people like Mel Robbins talking about like, okay, like, the brain that you have, like there is that ability to reset that button. So again, it's very much tied into kind of like similar ideas here. Like you have the power, you have control over your mindset. Like everybody kind of thinks that like, oh, these negative thoughts are just something that you just have, and it's something that you have to accept. They're kind of just flipping that on its head and saying like, actually, you don't feel, you have control over your mind, and if by doing these certain things, you're going to get control over that, and by rewiring your brain, that's going to lead to a much better life. It's going to get you to that dream life scenario, that kind of thing. You get down a little bit further down here, like Mike Gillette is thinking about it in a little bit different way. So like he's talking about like these elite strategists. So like these elite people, like almost that secret that they have. Like if you talk about the most famous people, or these elite Navy SEALs or things like that, they have certain characteristics that they have that make them really successful. So everybody loves kind of like learning about those secrets and learning about those things that are coming through. If you can reveal that in your sales page, obviously that opens an open loop for them to continue reading down. But that's a great big idea in terms of like, okay, like all these successful people that have achieved so many different things, like here's the mindset hacks that they've been able to tap into, and now you can do the same. And hopefully, like with they're kind of making the assumption that once you get these mindset hacks, you can be as successful, if not more, by instituting them in your own life. Again, we go a little bit further down. John Azaroff is talking about new brain science. That's going to give you that success in life. Again, one of the big things with John Azaroff, again, is kind of rewiring your brain. That neuroplasticity is a big part of that as well. Again, I didn't go through all of these, but like Ramit Sethi has his own unique type of big idea and things like that. And then Gabby Bernstein, again, like tying in kind of like something a little bit different, kind of like a Netflix for spirituality. So like she has this offer around like, anytime you need these resources, it's as easy as tapping into like these little, video clips that you can easily access, and it's going to immediately upgrade your mindset and spirituality as you go along. And then as you get further along, you can see there's a little bit more differentiation as you go along. So like tapping into that big idea of how you can rewire your brain, it kind of goes to like, and kind of giving the audience kind of some of that aha moment. Like what is the real reason that their mindset or those negative thoughts are so prevalent in their mind? For David Bayer, it goes to like this unconscious inner conflict, like kind of like this soul, this battle within their soul that's coming through. And obviously his solution is tied to solving that inner conflict and kind of allowing them to break through as they go along. Again, Brendan really tying into that big idea of like mindset being a habit. Again, if you can change your habits, you can change your life. So that's all kind of feeding into that. So just being a little bit more intentional about what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. Obviously, that can help from a mindset perspective, but that can help from a broader life perspective. Tony Robbins kind of tying into like his personal story in terms of the unique problem um, there. And you can kind of see the other ones as well. Again, tying into the secret here for Mike Gillette. Have you ever wondered, these self-limiting beliefs, if we can kind of just substitute that out? So again, like the unique problem here is like you have all these self-limiting beliefs, but you have the ability to substitute that out and achieve greater success without having to struggle and do things like that. So just a few more there. So if I switch over to kind of the benefit side, so this kind of gets into like their solution, kind of sets up their formula, their program, their course, their offering. Like what is that thing that's really going to change their life? Again, something David Bayer calls neuro sculpting. Again, it's all about like how do we rewire our brain? Something that he calls neuro sculpting, activating those neural networks, to make a new decision, to get different behaviors, different actions, and kind of that cascade of benefits along the way. For Brendan Bruchard, it's kind of like access to a bunch of different personal growth tools that you can access live or on this app that he's put together. Obviously, Tony Robbins is all about kind of unlocking that inner person within you. That's going to generate that life that you're looking for. And like a couple different other solutions. So for Mel Robbins, it's all about that live coaching experience to get you taking action in a quick period of time. John Azaroff, again, kind of like training your brain to achieve those goals a little bit faster. And he gives a specific date within that. And then, Gabby with kind of her spiritual home base where she's got guidance, inspiration, connection, all those kind of things. So, again, like looking at the angle, like what am I really doing here? So like David, didn't really go into that personal strategy. He kind of tried to knock down all those other, what he called like personal development 1.0. And he's trying to create like personal development 2.0. So like a transformation that's really going to happen. There's no magic pill. It's not going to be a meditation. It's not going to be anything that you've heard of before. It's something new. It's exciting. Again, kind of creating that neuro sculpting as kind of the key thing that's out there. Again, Brendan Bruchard, a little bit more aspirational in terms of what they're looking for and what you're doing. Mike Gillette doing a little bit different. So he talks about this elite bodyguard who observed how successful people think. So like, again, telling a little bit more of a story there. Everybody else is a little bit more direct in terms of like more of a problem solution type of angle. So not to say that his is wrong, but it kind of goes against like everybody else is kind of using more of that problem solution or kind of bringing out that new opportunity or new secret that's coming through. So just keep that in mind in terms of like as you go through. Again, Gabby used kind of that personal story, her own spiritual awakening to set up her story. So again, you kind of just use that as a guide. It's like I wouldn't go, if I'm creating a lead, I probably wouldn't go outside of a problem solution type of lead or a new opportunity type lead or a personal story type lead, just because, again, a lot of these gurus have tested out so many different leads and angles and things like that. So, going beyond what they're using is use what they have right now as kind of a guidepost for what might be successful. And then in terms of the PLUs, like these are all the kind of benefits that you could type into as you go along the way. For Mike Gillette, like having like 3 deadly pitfalls, success follows a formula, fixed mindset versus kind of that growth mindset. So all those kind of things are just trying to give you like, okay, like what additional things do they talk about in their sales letter that you might want to, create your own variation on, especially as you go through that. So Gabby's a little bit different in terms of like, she talks about kind of like manifesting, life beyond your wildest dreams. The rest of them really don't talk about it. They don't really take that spiritual angle. But that's something that you might pay attention. Like maybe your offer is related to that a little bit more. So like taking a little bit of some of that, or maybe you have an offer that's a little bit closer to David Bayer or Tony Robbins, and you might want to throw in how your offer also includes spirituality. So that's a way of kind of creating a differentiation between some of these other people in terms of what they're looking for. Like the emotional guidance system is something that John Azaroff is talking about, David Bayer is talking about. Maybe you want to talk a little bit more about the mindset GPS that you can put in there. So just kind of using these ideas, not that you're going to copy and paste them or steal those ideas, but you're using their structure, using their big ideas as really a source for inspiration. So again, the idea here is that you're not starting from scratch. You're using, in terms of the structure, their approach, their big ideas as inspiration of way like, okay, like, can I amplify this idea? Can I take my own unique spin on this? Can I take what this guru is saying and can I combine it with this to create a more unique offering that I know this audience really appreciates? So really just as you go through these columns, not trying to make conclusions based on one person or two people, but really just looking at the collective and saying like, okay, like based on the ideas here, based on what they're selling, what can I take and what can I use for my own offering? Because I know based on their ads and what they're doing, they've scaled these offers. We know there's some success principles here. Let me take that and start using it for my own audience. And by doing so, you're going to lower the risk, especially within your own marketing, that it really is going to be successful versus just, kind of starting from scratch and throwing something against the wall and hoping that it fits. So use those success principles, use some of those ideas as kind of your foundation and build upon them. Obviously make your offer truly distinctive. But again, find an idea of like, okay, like I can build on this, I can amplify on this, and certain words, certain phrases, everything like that will give you great sources of ideas for potentially your own sales letters. And again, using their approaches as well, like using that masterclass, like everybody else is using a masterclass. Why am I going to do something completely different? Like that's been shown to work. They've been doing that day, like time after time. They're doing it really well with that. Like it doesn't make sense to do something completely different. So like success leaves clues. So take those clues and use them, and don't just try something that's completely different, because again, the rest of the industry is kind of giving you what is working right now, and giving you a better sense of what might be successful as you go along. So again, use this kind of spreadsheet, the columns, collect that stuff, and provides kind of a great foundation to create higher converting marketing that will give you a greater sense for success going forward. Obviously, you can put out marketing and it doesn't work, but at least you have a sense of like, okay, like I've used these foundations from the rest of my competitors. And again, as you see their ads and things like that, making sure that you're not just echoing what they're saying, but how can I use some of those different foundations and really build upon that, amplify that, and create even better marketing than they're using right now. So with that, if you found value from this, wherever you're watching this, make sure to hit that like button. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. I'm going to be talking a lot more about big ideas, because again, it's what I find most important and what you really have to get right for your audience. If you're just echoing what they're hearing from everybody else, your marketing isn't going to perform well. So I'll talk a little bit more about constructing that big idea and providing some examples of companies and ads that I think really get them right across different industries, so that you have a good sense of like who's standing out, who isn't, and who's really bringing new ideas to the table. So with that, take care.